morning to all. Myself Professor Archana from Department of Petroleum Engineering, IIT ISM Dhanbad. We are continuing on course Fundamental of a Carbon Capture, Utilization and Storage. So in the today's discussion, we are going to continue the topic Thermodynamics of CO2 transport. So as we have started in the last class about the thermodynamics of a CO2 transport, under that we do discuss about the different equation of a state. So starting with the ideal gas law, we followed the real gas equation of a state. Under that we do have the different equation of a state. So we do have the Van der Waals equation of state, Peng-Robinson equation of state and others, and which we have discussed as part of the thermodynamics of a CO2. So there is a one thing we just to recap it. Critical point of a CO2 is very much important, and we do have the critical point here 31 degrees centigrade, and critical pressure is 73.8 bar. So above this particular temperature pressure condition, CO2 becomes a supercritical fluid. So once it is a supercritical fluid, it flow like a gas, so dense like a liquid, and this is a preferred state for the pipeline. To understand that, we have understood this equation of state also in continuation. So what are the key thermodynamic properties which we can get it from EOS? So this from equation of state we can calculate the density, that is rho, enthalpy, entropy and compressibility factor. So this key thermodynamic properties of carbon dioxide which we have derived from an equation of state using mathematical relationship between the pressure, temperature, volume. So these three parameter, pressure, temperature and volume. So these three parameter was correlated, and then we do have some other parameter like universal gas constant, we do have omega eccentric factor, and then we had the two correction. One is the volume correction, one is the intermolecular attraction correction. So we are correlating this PVT, and then we have the different equation of state which we have talked in the last class. So the simple one, while simple cubic equation of state like Peng-Robinson PR are common for general engineering, then we have one more that is a more accurate, that is the Span-Wagner SW equation of state is the international reference standard used for NIST for its high accuracy across gas, liquid and supercritical state. So we have talked the different equation of state, and then we have seen how impactful and useful it is for understanding the CO2 transport during the for the pipeline transport and for the storage purpose also. So are the key properties which typically derived, which we have mentioned it here: density, then we do have the enthalpy, entropy and compressibility factor. So see this one by one. So fundamental state properties. So these are the primary variable used to define the thermodynamic state of a CO2. The first one, we do have a density, rho. So calculated directly from equation of state by solving for volume at a given pressure and temperature condition. So when we take Span-Wagner equation of state is accurate to 0.1 to 0.2% for density outside the critical range. So second one, we do have the compressibility factor. So what this compressibility factor stand for? So compressibility factor is something whenever there is a deviation from the ideality, we do have a factor that is Z, and it is nothing but the compressibility factor. So in the equation of state, when we have ideal gas law, Pb is equal to nRT. So here Z, once we introduce the Z in this equation, so this equation becomes Pb is equal to Z nRT. So this Z is nothing but the compressibility factor, and it shows us the deviation from the ideality. So this represents the deviation from the ideal gas behavior. Accurate Z values are critical for CO2 storage and transport calculation. So this Z value can be calculated using the different we do have the different way to calculate it. So one of the famous chart, that is a standing chart, we do have it. We can calculate the Z value from the this chart. So here you do have this PR, TR. So as mentioned, PR is the reduced pressure. So reduced pressure we will be representing by P by PC. So PC is here critical temperature. P is the pressure at which system is working. Then deriving this TR will be a ratio of P T by TR. So T by TC. So TR is the ratio of T by TC. So T is the temperature on which the system is working and TC is the critical temperature. So this is the one we do require these two parameters TR, PR for getting the Z value from standing card chart. So this is standing card chart also account for the impurities present in the gas. If you have the impurities present, that also it will account and we can calculate the Z factor. So this is the Z factor. Then there is a modification also. If we do have the different component and we are accounting for the gas mixture, then there is some deviation about this. So this what we get it, this compressibility factor, it is a Z. So it is nothing but deviation from the ideal gas behavior and it is accurate. Z values are critical for CO2 storage and transport calculation. First one we have seen this fundamental state properties. So we do have the density and compressibility factor. So the second one, energy and entropy properties. So these are derived from EOS, equation of state, by integrating partial derivatives of P, V and T data, often combined with your ideal gas heat capacity models. So H is your enthalpy. So enthalpy essential for heat exchanger and power cycle. So it is calculated by adding a residual or departure function that would be derived again from the equation of state to the ideal gas enthalpy. So this is the way we will calculate the enthalpy. Entropy. So entropy is what? It is nothing but it is the randomness of the system. So this entropy we will getting from the second law of thermodynamics. The enthalpy we will be getting from the first law of thermodynamics. So we do have the different law of thermodynamics, first law, second law and third law of thermodynamics. So talking about the entropy, so this value we do calculate it from the second law of thermodynamics and entropy is nothing but the randomness in the system. So used to determine process reversibility and efficiency. So that's the one thing. Like enthalpy, it consists of an ideal gas part and residual part derived again from the equation of state. So that's the two part here. We do have ideal gas part and then we do have the residual part. So this residual part we are calculating from equation of state. Similarly here also we do have this enthalpy. So enthalpy we are calculating by adding a residual or departure function and this residual or departure function again being calculated from equation of state to the ideal gas enthalpy. Then internal energy. So it will be calculated from enthalpy and PV work. So this enthalpy from where we are getting this all information we are getting the first law of thermodynamics. So U is equal to H minus PV. So this way we will be calculating the internal energy. So U will be here nothing but the internal energy and H is the enthalpy. Then the second we do have the Gibbs free energy that would be represented by G. It is used to predict phase equilibrium. So phase equilibrium, vapor liquid and chemical reaction spontaneity. So this is the different energy and entropy properties which we are getting it from the equation of state. Then we do have the derivative and transport properties. So these properties involve second order derivatives of the equation of state and are highly sensitive near CO2 critical point. So critical point 304.1 Kelvin and 7.38 megapascal. So the first one under this we do have the isobaric heat capacity. So as mentioned isobaric, that means we are talking about the constant pressure. So this measure heat required to reach a temperature at constant pressure. So this isobaric heat capacity is Cp. So it will measure the heat required to reach temperature at constant pressure. It shows a sharp spike near your critical point. So this all we have this near the critical point, how the behavior will be, how the different properties and fundamental parameter will affect. So this all we are seeing. Then second one we do have the Joule-Thomson coefficient. So mu Jt. It describes the temperature change during a pressure drop, throttling. It is vital for your refrigeration and CO2 pipeline safety. So this we are going to talk here about Joule-Thomson coefficient. So further I have added this Joule-Thomson effect and I have explained it, so that we will be seeing. So second we do have the Joule-Thomson coefficient, so that we have seen it. So it describes the temperature change during a pressure drop. So whenever there is a pressure drop, there will be change in temperature, and it is important for your refrigeration, and again it is important with respect to your CO2 pipeline safety. Then there is a speed of sound calculated from the derivative of a pressure with respect to density at a constant entropy. And then we do have the isothermal compressibility. As the name suggests, isothermal, that means we are talking about the constant. So isothermal compressibility, it is represented by KT. It will quantifies how much the volume of a CO2 decreases under pressure at constant temperature. So this is the thing about your isothermal compressibility. So here we are taking this, how much volume is getting changed by applying the pressure. So there is a change in a volume once we do apply the pressure. So similarly we can talk this one with respect to change in the density by applying the pressure at a constant temperature. Then the fourth one which we have it here, phase equilibrium properties. So the first one we do have the Fugacity coefficient derived from equation of state to calculate CO2 solubility in water or brine or its behavior in mixture with your hydrocarbon. So this is the phase equilibrium properties. The first one, Fugacity coefficient. The second one we do have the vapor pressure. The equation of state is used to determine the pressure at which liquid and gas CO2 coexist at a given temperature. So that's the another important thing. This equation of state is used to determine the pressure. So which pressure it is used to determine? At which your liquid and gas CO2 coexist at a given temperature. So this is the couple of the properties we were talking about, which can be calculated using the equation of state. So required to see that which equation of state is more appropriate during your CO2 transportation, and these properties can be calculated. Now we are going to talk about some thermodynamics and core heat transfer concept with respect to our transport of a CO2. So this thermodynamics of a CO2 transport we have seen focuses on managing the phase state. The next we are going to talk with respect to heat transfer concept. So this thermodynamics of a CO2 transport focuses on managing the phase state. So phase state we had gas, liquid or supercritical. It is focusing on phase state and temperature of carbon dioxide during movement through your pipeline or ship. So this part we have seen, the phase state and this how does it does depend on your equation of state, that part we have seen. Now we will be talking about temperature of a carbon dioxide during movement through pipeline or ship, primarily for your carbon capture storage purposes. So heat transfer effects are critical because CO2 behaves non-linearly near its critical point, and sudden temperature changes can cause the phase transition. And then another problem, it can have the hydrate formation, and then potential pipeline structural damage due to embrittlement. So that is the problem we do have it here. So one by one we will see. So the first here we do have the dense phase transport. To maximize the pipeline efficiency, CO2 is often transported in a dense state. So dense state where it will be above the liquid and left side of your critical zone. So that is your dense state. So dense state we do have the liquid or supercritical, which requires the high pressure. Typically the pressure we have the higher than the 70 bar, and to keep this one, this pressure is required to keep this CO2 its dense, and that way it will avoid the low density gaseous state which requires much larger pipeline diameter. So how it is going to help this dense phase transport? What we want to maximize the pipeline efficiencies. To maximize the pipeline efficiency, CO2 is getting transported in dense state, so liquid or supercritical CO2. And this maintaining this liquid or supercritical CO2, it does require the high pressure, and pressure is greater than 70 bar. So this way it will be avoiding this low density gaseous state which requires the much larger diameter. So that's one thing. The second one, we do have the Joule-Thomson cooling or JT cooling. So during depressurization or leak, CO2 undergoes extreme cooling which can drop temperature significantly below 0 degrees centigrade. So this JT or Joule-Thomson cooling effect makes temperature regulation essential. So let's understand this Joule-Thomson cooling. So this Joule-Thomson effect or cooling during expansion, what it is? When CO2 expand, so how the CO2 will get it expanded? Either there will be leakage or there will be pressure drop. So when this two occurs, either leakage of the CO2 or pressure drop, so we have this one. So here mu JT is nothing but it is a Joule-Thomson coefficient, and mu JT is equal to delta T by delta P at H. So H we are having here at constant enthalpy we are talking. So what is phenomena? We do have characteristic of a CO2. CO2 typically cools when there is expansion. So expansion is either there is a leakage or pressure drop. So during that time what will happen? CO2 will get it cool, and that cooling can lead to your solid CO2 formation. So that is a dry ice formation, and this dry ice formation will block the pipeline. So there will be pipeline blockage risk will be there. So let's see this one. Joule-Thomson cooling in CO2 occurs when high pressure carbon dioxide expands to your lower pressure and causing a significant temperature drop due to intermolecular forces, and that is often exceeding 20 degrees centigrade in large pressure drop. So this effect characterized by a high positive JT coefficient, mu JT. So that I mentioned here, mu JT is the Joule-Thomson coefficient. So this one, this effect which we are talking about, once there is a leakage or expansion, so this effect will be characterized by a high positive JT coefficient and can lead to your operational risk. So what operational risk it was mentioned here? Hydrate formation and blockage. So that will lead to your hydrate formation, dry ice formation and rock thermal stress during your CCS operation. So we are handling here both the part. One, this how the pipeline will have the couple of the issues or problem and how to resolve that, and then another one during the storage or sequestration, how this phase changes or if there is any leakage and if there is any sudden pressure drop, what the effect would be. So here there is a hydrate formation or dry ice formation, and in rock we have the rock thermal stress during your CCS operation. So what is the mechanism of JT cooling in CO2? The first one we get it expansion and cooling. So when CO2 is forced through a restrictor, so that restrictor could be your valve porous reservoir rock, and that CO2 is forced from where? From your high pressure to low pressure, and that operation should be isenthalpic. So isenthalpic operation, that means we are talking about enthalpy constant. So this isenthalpic process, when we do have it expand and its temperature is getting decreased. So that's the one thing, expansion, and then we do have a cooling. So expansion, that means leakage of pressure drop, and when it happens, when there is a CO2 is being forced through a restrictor. So restrictor could be your valve or porous reservoir rock. So that possibility when we do have to move from high pressure to low pressure, and operation will be isenthalpic and it will expand, and then you do have the temperature decrease. Then molecular interaction. Real gases like CO2. So CO2 does not behave as an ideal gas. So it behaves as a real gas. So CO2 gases like real gases like CO2 possesses intermolecular attraction forces, and as molecules move apart during expansion, so what is happening? Potential energy increases, and that time reducing kinetic energy, because this whole energy we have to keep it constant, conservation of energy concept, which causes this temperature to fall. So what is increasing? There is a expansion and there is an increase in the potential energy and reducing the kinetic energy, and that way what is happening? There is a temperature fall. Now significant temperature drop, CO2 has positive jetty coefficient, often leading to your substantial temperature drop around 6 to 8 degree Fahrenheit per 100 psi pressure drop, or over 20 degrees centigrade during significant expansion if we do have it. So this about your mechanism of jetty cooling in CO2. Then application and impact in CO2 operation, so that we have seen it. CCS, so during carbon capture and storage, so high pressure injection of a CO2 into reservoir. So that kind of reservoir, which kind of reservoir here we are talking about? Depleted gas field or aquifer. So high pressure injection of a CO2 into reservoir often causes cooling around the wellbore, which can beneficial or cause the issue. That's the one thing. Then injectivity impairment. Significant cooling can lead to the formation of a CO2 hydrate or freezing of water within the rock pores. So that way what will happen? It will plug the formation and it reduces the injection capacity. So that is the injectivity will be hampered here. Then thermal stress. So intense cooling can cause the surrounding rock to break due to your thermal stress. So which can be useful for increasing the permeability but also risk the damaging your well integrity. So there is a two thing. It is increasing the permeability, but there is a risk of a damaging well integrity also. So mitigation, to prevent this issue, CO2 is often heated before injection to compensate for the cooling. So that is the mitigation it was taken. And with respect to CCU operation, how the problem we are facing. So CCUS, we have seen high pressure injection of a CO2 into reservoir. Then we do have the injectivity, thermal stress, and then how the mitigation was taken. To avoid this one, CO2 is often heated before injection to compensate for the cooling, because there is a chances of your jetty cooling effect in the injection. So what are the key factors which is influence the jetty cooling? First is the pressure differential. So delta P, higher pressure drop lead to your greater cooling. Then initial temperature or pressure. CO2 in a supercritical state has a high Joule-Thomson coefficient, often leading to more significant cooling than your liquid CO2. There is a different states of CO2, gas, liquid, solid, and then we do have the dense liquid, and then we do talk the supercritical. So that is the effect of your initial temperature and pressure. Then reservoir properties, the heat capacity and thermal conductivity of the surrounding reservoir rock and water help to mitigate extreme temperature drop and lessening the overall effect. So surrounding the reservoir we do have the rock and we do have the water formation water, and that is helping to mitigate the extreme temperature drop due to the heat transfer surrounding, and it will overall lessening the overall impact. Now the next we have to understand the heat pipe effect and certain conditions. So in certain pipelines a heat pipe effect can occur where liquid CO2 at the bottom evaporates and condenses at the top, driven by your heat transfer from the surrounding ground. So let's understand this thing. So what is this heat pipe effect in CO2 pipelines? Under certain condition is a thermally driven phase change circulation process, very similar to how a heat pipe works in electronics cooling, but happening here naturally inside the pipeline. So what happens? This will see this whole process. What happens during certain? So certain is somewhere something where there is no operation. So certain means what? When a CO2 pipeline is certain, that means it is a condition of a no flow. So CO2 inside can separate into two phases. So the phase liquid CO2 will settle at the bottom, and then we do have the vapor CO2 that stays at the top. So here two phase we are talking about liquid CO2, and then we are talking about the vapor CO2. So liquid CO2 will sink at the bottom, settle at the bottom. The pipeline is exposed to temperature difference from surrounding soil. So ground is usually warmer than your fluid. So this is the first thing. What this is happening during your certain. So what we will understand this mechanism one by one. So there is a first heat absorption at the bottom. So at the bottom we do have the liquid. So this liquid CO2 at the bottom absorb heat from the warmer surrounding ground. So this is the first phenomena. So as it absorbs the heat, what happens? There will be evaporation. So this causes evaporation or boiling of liquid CO2, and once there is evaporation and boiling, that means it's turned into vapor. Then as it turns into vapor, so the nature of the vapor, it will rises ever. The second we do have vapor rises upward. So this generated CO2 vapor is lighter, so it rises to the top of the pipeline. So this is the second thing. Now cooling and condensation at the top, how it is happening? So this upper part of the pipeline is relatively cool compared to the lower, the gas which is going upward. So this vapor loses heat and condense back into your liquid CO2. So that's the thing, cooling and condensation at the top. So there is a upper part of the pipeline is relatively cooler. So there vapor which is moving upward, it will loses heat and it will condense back into your liquid CO2. Then liquid flows back down. What this is? So this condensed liquid droplet fall back down due to your gravity. So this is the fourth step we do have. Heat absorption at the bottom from the surrounding, then vapor rises upward, then we do have cooling and condensation at the top, then we do have the liquid flows back down. So this is the fourth process. So what is this continuous cycle or heat pipe behavior here? So this create a closed loop because this is the operation continuously happening. So there is a heat absorption, then rising of the bubble, then cooling and condensation, and then again you do have the liquid flow back to the bottom. So this is nothing but is a closed loop. So this is a continuous cycle, heat pipe behavior. Here this create a closed loop cycle. So at the bottom we do have the evaporation, and in evaporation there is a heat absorption. Then at the top, that is a condensation, that means heat release, and inside circulation without any pump. So what is happening? There is no pump is required. Due to the natural surrounding heat, this liquid, CO2 liquid is getting warm, it is getting vaporized, moving up, then again there is a heat transfer at the top, then again it is condensing back. So there is no heat pump is required. We do have a bottom, there is evaporation due to heat absorption, then condensation, heat release, and inside the pipe we do have the circulation without any pump. So this is why it is called a heat pipe effect. Heat is efficiently transferred from bottom to top via we can see there is a phase change. So that was the phase change we do talk about. So here the question here, why it matters in CO2 pipeline. So the first is enhanced heat transfer. So heat transfer becomes much faster than your conduction alone, and pipeline temperature distribution changes also rapidly. Pressure fluctuation, evaporation and condensation can cause your pressure variation and possible phase instability. Operational risk can lead to your unexpected phase change, thermal stresses, and difficulty in restart of your pipeline. So this is a couple of the thing here. So go back to here. So here we were discussing previously, we do have the key factor which was influencing your JT cooling. This we get it. Then here we had the heat pipe effect in certain conditions. So we understand that in certain pipeline, a heat pipe effect can occur where liquid CO2 at the bottom evaporates and condenses at the top, and that would be driven by your heat transfer from the surrounding ground. Then we do have the near critical anomalies. So when CO2 is close to its critical point, its specific heat varies dramatically, and that lead to large average temperature differences in heat exchanger and increase the entropy generation. So this is phenomena near your critical anomalies. Now what are the key heat transfer effect and mechanism here? Condensation and corrosion. So if water is present as an impurity in CO2 stream, it can condense along with CO2, and that way it will create a highly corrosive acid, that is a carbonic acid. So this is the condensation and corrosion problem it may have. Then buoyancy effect in a horizontal or inclined transport. Here we are talking about the transport. Thermal buoyancy can lead to temperature stratification, and in heated flow, a low density gas like layer form along the top of the tube, and that way it will degrade the heat transfer. Then insulation and ground temperature. The heat flux from the surrounding ground to the pipe is crucial to keep CO2 from getting too cold during shutdown, which can lead to your solid CO2 formation. Also, it will known as a bombing. So this is a couple of the heat transfer effect, and we do have the mechanism here. So this we understand this heat pipe, and then we do have the operational implication here. So flow assurance, maintaining a stable mostly gaseous or dense phase condition is required to avoid your condensation and hydrate formation. Then the second one, depressurization management. So during plant maintenance, the cooling must be managed to avoid bringing pipe temperature below the design limit, which could lead to your structural brittle failure. So that is the depressurization management. Then impurities. Small percentage of impurities like N2 or CH4 can change the thermodynamics, and that way it will reduce the heat transfer coefficient by over 40%, affecting the phase envelope. So these were the couple of the operational challenges. So now we come to the conclusion for the today's discussion. So thermodynamics of a CO2 transport we do talk about. So we have get some idea of a Joule-Thomson effect. So that is a cooling during expansion. So as the gas will leak or there will be pressure drop, there is a temperature drop will be there, and this temperature drop can lead to solid CO2 or dry ice formation, and that may lead to pipeline blockage risk. The second, we do talk about this heat transfer effect. So CO2 exchange heat with surrounding. So there would be buried pipeline. So heat from the soil it may take, and then there will be vaporization and condensation. So that we have understood heat pipe effect, and that will cause to your phase change, density variation, and heat pipe effect during certain also under that we have get it. So then we do talk about some flow thermodynamics and the key properties. We do understand density, viscosity, compressibility that would be calculated from your equation of state, or also this density will determine your mass flow rate, viscosity affects the frictional loss, and compressibility it will show the deviation from the ideal behavior. So this is a couple of the things which we do have it under this particular topic, thermodynamics of a CO2 understanding for the transportation of CO2 from one place to another using the pipeline, or also during the sequestration, how the behavior of the CO2 phase change, how does it impact. So this is all for today. See you in the next class. Thank you.